And welcome to Online Business Uncovered. This is episode 172. And today I am kicking off with something really exciting. My brand new Online Business Growth Summit speaker series. Now today I am having a conversation with one of our expert speakers, Jodie Newman, who is the founder of the Business Allotment. And we're talking about how creativity can help you build a more memorable business. So let's jump right in and let's get started. Welcome to Online Business Uncovered, the show that lifts the lid on what it really takes to turn your brilliance into digital products, passive income, and time freedom. I am your host, Karen, an online business strategist, course creation expert, and your go-to for building a business that works for you and not the other way around. If you are an ambitious entrepreneur feeling overwhelmed, burnt out, or maybe you're just ready for a smarter, more sustainable way to grow, then you're in the right place. Because each week I'll be bringing you inspiring conversations, practical strategies, and step-by-step guidance to help you create scalable, repeatable digital products that sell even while you sleep. So if you're ready to stop trading your time for money, reclaim your time, and finally build a business that gives you the freedom that you deserve, hit subscribe and tune in every Thursday. Let's uncover what's truly possible for you, starting now. Hello and welcome to Online Business Uncovered. I'm your host, Karen, and I'm so excited because today we're kicking off with something a little bit different. Over the next few weeks, I'll be bringing you a special Online Business Growth Summit Speaker Series where you'll get to meet some incredible experts who will be joining me at this year's summit. Rather than simply introducing the speakers, I want to give you the opportunity to hear their expertise firsthand. So each episode is going to be packed with practical advice, fresh ideas, and inspiring conversations that you can start applying to your own business straight away. And I couldn't think of a better person to begin this series with today than my guest, Jodie Newman, who is the founder of the Business Allotment. Now, if you've ever found yourself saying, I'm not creative, then I really encourage you to keep listening because this conversation might completely change the way you think. Jodie believes that creativity isn't about being artistic, it's about thinking differently, solving problems in new ways, and creating a business that people actually remember. We talk about why so many businesses blend into the background, how your story can become one of your greatest competitive advantages, and why developing your creativity could be one of the smartest investments that you could make in your business. Now, she also gives us a sneak peek into her brilliant session that she's going to be delivering at this year's summit, where she'll be sharing her unique Chicken Nugget Philosophy for turning your expertise into a digital product that people genuinely want. So whether you're just starting your online business journey or you're looking for fresh ideas to help you grow, I know you're going to get so much value from this conversation. So grab a cuppa, get comfortable, and let's jump right into my conversation with the wonderful Jodie Newman. Welcome, Jodie. I'm so excited that you are on the show today. Do you want to start by just introducing yourself and telling people who you are, what you do, and about the Business Allotment?
Yeah, of course. It's lovely to be here, Karen. Thank you for the invite. Yes, so the Business Allotment, it's the place where businesses grow creatively. So being a creative by training and by kind of heart, I guess, it was always for me going to be about the belief that great ideas grow businesses. And that is the foundation on which I built the allotment. And it was really that simple. And when I had that thought and that crystallized over many years, I was very clear about what I wanted to build, because there is no business that cannot be better with the injection of creative ideas. So in the allotment, it takes the form in a very general sense of strategy, vision, a lot of brand story, because we are woefully under creative with how we tell our story, and also just creativity into any business challenge that you have. And within the allotment, on the south side, we have the business sheds. So that's our online business growth club. Lots of different tiers and membership, but essentially every month business owners come and get brilliant ideas about how to grow their business. That not so sexy but very important accountability, and the time and the space to focus on what you need to do in the next month to move your business forward. Then on the top side, on the north side of the allotment, we have seedling sessions and cultivator sessions, and they are working one-to-one with me, usually online, for your business challenge. A lot of strategy, vision and brand story, as I said, but I want to launch a thing, or I'm how do I onboard my customers in a really cool way, or I want to start a newsletter, and then tumbleweed. So I work alongside encouraging business owners to be more creative. This is not about me giving everyone ideas. I can do that. It's about me using creative approaches and tools to help business owners think differently. And I always talk about business as usual thinking, which is a brilliant way to run our business every day because we know our stuff, we just crack on and do it. Business as usual thinking is terrible for growth. We need business as unusual thinking, and that's where creativity plays such an important part in that business owner's toolkit. And then in the middle we have the greenhouse, which is where I work one-to-one, usually in half or 4 days, around a table where we kind of grow the business strategy off the surface of the table with three-dimensional tools that you can touch and feel and move, and a really kind of interactive, creative way to hothouse your business.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you are injecting creativity into the way you are presenting your business. You're very much walking the talk, which is what I love. Where did the idea come from for the business allotment?
So I did my own toolkit on myself. I do brand naming as a service.
Yeah.
So I had all the tools, and I worked through the process, and really for me, it goes back to understanding your own story. I have a framework called the story wheel, and right at the center is the brand heart. And for me, it's that belief at the very heart of everything I do is the belief that great ideas grow businesses. And then that kind of adjacent sort of belief that everyone can be creative, but we are often educated out of that belief and that ability. So if I can do two things at once, help you grow your business using a more creative approach and making you more creative as a business owner in the process, it's kind of a win-win because you've got those skills then for life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really interesting with business because even if you are somebody that is analytical, that you like data, you like to kind of get in the weeds of your business, in order for any business to take shape, there needs to be an aspect of creativity that gets infused into the business. And it's really interesting to me with a creative background. Creativity plays such an important part in my business, but then I'll speak to somebody and they'll be like, I'm not very creative, but yet they've come up with a name, they have a concept about their business, they have an idea, and that creativity is there. They have brought an idea to life, but yet they sometimes don't believe that they have that creativity within them, which is really interesting.
It's quite often a bit of gatekeeping as well, and I work with a huge amount of creatives. So obviously they kind of they're attracted into the allotment because of the creative approach, and I love working with creatives because there's no pushback when I go, right, we're going to start by drawing a lemon and I want you to put a fez on it, and they're like, sure, let's go, this is great, and they don't question why, because they're used to having that ability to kind of step out of their safe zone and do kind of stuff like that. So it is what they tend not to do is break down their own creative process and understand that, because there is a little bit of like, ooh, it's black magic, let's not stare it in the eyes, it might run away,
Yeah.
And I think they feel that creativity is an instinct that is innate, but they've actually got to that position through thousands and thousands of hours of practice, of potentially being educated in it, of skilling themselves up. And you could and I think we sometimes forget that we have this skill because it feels like living and breathing to us, particularly in the creative fields. But you can only live and breathe it in such a kind of natural, subconscious way because you've done the hard work to get there. So when I work with people who self-proclaim, I'm not creative, it's amazing what happens, because it starts off feeling quite hard work. You can see it in their eyes, like, oh God, my brain hurts. And then by the end of the session, they're like, bang, 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 another
Yeah.
idea. And I'm like, yeah, you've got it. It's just tapping into a different way of thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I sometimes think it's the way that our brain processes, doesn't it? So, with me, I'm highly creative, but my husband, he's very analytical. But
Mm.
there are certain things that he'll do that require creativity, but he doesn't see it as creativity. He
Yes.
doesn't realize he's tapping into those skills that he
Mm.
has,
Yeah,
um, because he's not doing it all the time. And it is
exactly.
skill. It's a learned skill, isn't it? We, like you say, we all have the ability to be creative. It's just tapping into that
Yeah.
skill set and
Yeah,
harnessing it
absolutely.
as well.
Yeah, I mean, the research sort of does suggest that only up to 20% of creativity is an inherent sort of genetic skill, which kind of leaves 80% on the table
Wow.
as a skill that can be learned. And
Yeah.
that's where I teach people to use tools to think in different way. We can all be better creative. We're not all going to be creative geniuses. You don't need to be a creative genius. You just need to apply a bit of creativity to your business to create some really fabulous results.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I think it's probably one of the most in like for what I use, the most important skill really. And it's
Mm,
interesting that you say, I think creative people take it for granted. It's almost like they've been born with this way of looking at the world, and it is almost like just how they're built, not realizing, like you say, probably 20% is inherited, but the other
yeah.
80% has been refined over a large proportion of time, kind of being creative.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you think as a kid, those who have creative tendencies will naturally gravitate towards stuff outside of school that is creative. They'll paint, they'll draw, they'll make comic strips. I mean, all the stuff that I did, when you're a kid. And so even from 5, 6, 7, you're putting in that, if you subscribe to the sort of 10,000 hours principle, my God, you're starting that
Yeah,
skill very, very early. And, that is very much encouraged until you get into school, when then it becomes all about the data and the improvement
yeah,
steps. And they could not give about, kind of your creative output,
yeah,
and that's where you start to dip. But then if I think, yeah, it's obviously you've got to have some kind of inherent curiosity about your own creativity. But there's, I do lay the blame somewhat at many of our educations as to why people believe they are not creative. Because it only takes one, I mean, artistic talent has nothing to do with creativity.
yeah,
And I think if we understood that, it's a good place to start from as business owners. Because
yeah,
often I'll say, do you consider yourself creative? Or no, I can't draw. I'm like,
yeah.
that's an
I was going
answer
to
to a
say
different
that.
question.
Yeah,
That's got
100%.
nothing
I
to
was
do with it.
Yeah, yeah. And I reckon if you ask 10 people, you'd probably get the majority of those people saying exactly that. They
Yeah,
associate things like drawing and painting and, with being creative. And it's not that at all.
yeah.
I always think it's a wonderful thing to have an idea that's been planted and being able to bring that idea to life. But that creativity starts from the moment that you start recognizing what that seed of an idea is,
Mm,
and then using those skills to kind of bring it out, grow it, bring it to life, make it
yeah.
happen. And
Mm,
it's interesting with business owners and entrepreneurs because they have that. They've come up with the idea for their
yeah.
business and they've made it happen. They're visible, they're networking, they're showing up in whatever capacity. They've
Yeah.
essentially brought their idea to life. But yet they are most likely going to be the people that say, I'm not creative,
Mm,
which is quite interesting.
yeah, it's I mean, I could talk about this for the next 3 hours, so probably better not, though, eh?
So what's one of the biggest mistakes or misconceptions that you see entrepreneurs make when it comes to like thinking of or being creative? What is the thing that where it moves them away from being in that state of mind?
Mm. Well, I think to pin it to something very tangible first, because I can talk, as I said, for hours about, what won't be happening in your business if you don't embrace creativity as one of your kind of, business critical skills. But I think for me, brand story is a place where there is a dearth of creativity for most small businesses. And I think the biggest mistake is not investing time and potentially money, but not necessarily, to really create a distinct story and be creative about the words you say, the way you describe what you do, how you connect with your audience. Because without that, and it feels, I think maybe there is a sense that working on your own story is a bit self-indulgent.
Yeah.
Well, it's all about my story, and I'm not talking about, well, in 1984 I woke up and I realized this was what I was put on this earth to do, because no one gives an S. What I'm talking about is those really critical elements of your business story that help your prospects make their mind up about who they work with. Your story is purely in service of your prospects. That's it. They have one question in their minds: why should I choose you? And if you don't apply creativity to your story, what tends to happen is your story sounds like a huge amount of the other businesses in your industry. You only have to pick an industry, go and Google it, pick the first 5 companies that come up, or do it within the small business realm. They will all sound very similar.
Yeah.
You're not helping your prospects. Forget about the ego trip of telling your own story. Your story is there to serve. And without that, you're making it very difficult for a prospect to understand whether they should or shouldn't choose you. So often clients come to me and say, I want help growing, and I want a strategy, and I want this, I've got this challenge. And where I start is, tell me the story you go out and show up with. And often we will have to start there.
Yeah.
Because without that, every single element of your business becomes more difficult. Networking, marketing, sales, all of that stuff, all of your touch points become blander, they become more vanilla, because you're looking and sounding. And where you have stories that sound and show up as familiar, they become invisible.
Yeah.
And who wants that for their business? Our time is really scarce. Our resources are scarce as small business owners. We need to be showing up and marketing and doing that thing with the most impact that we can. So for God's sake, get your story into an amazing shape, because as the research says, in any given audience, 95% are not in a buy ready frame of mind, which means 95% of people need to go away either with your story in their head or with nothing in their head. So at the point at which they go, do you know what, I really need help with building a digital course, either Karen's in their head or Karen's not in their head, and your story will be the thing that either lodges it or makes it fall out their ears the moment you're off the Zoom or out of the network meeting, or off your website, wherever it is. So for me, having a creative approach to the story you tell is the best thing you can do, and it's the biggest mistake you make if you don't do that, because it's a lot of time and effort with really hard won and not as frequent returns. So that would be, but that extrapolates out into the biggest mistake is kind of magpieing ideas from all around you. Oh, I need to onboard my clients. So you Google it, and the great wise Google says, well, create an online form and then you do this. Or you talk to someone in network and they go, oh, this is the way I do it. You go, oh, that sounds nice. I understand that. Do it. And then you wonder why no one remembers what you do, or they don't have an amazing experience. They have an okay experience because you look, sound and feel, and the experience is exactly the same as anyone else they might go to for a similar service. So I'm very much about, let's go back to blank page thinking, and often we start at the end. If I'm working with someone on how to create an amazing onboarding experience so their clients fall in love with them before they've even kind of picked up a pen or done the first line of data, excuse me, then we start by saying, right, what's the experience after it's happened? What emotion are we leaving your client with? What sense, what thought, what action? And it's that defines everything. What's the brand story telling us we need to create in terms of an experience? So we bring all this together, and you end up creating something that nobody else has as part of their business. And then it becomes part of your marketing, because not only can you talk about it as a distinct thing, your clients experience it and go, that was bloody amazing. And they tell 5 people about it. So, it serves you so well to have some business's unusual thinking when you come to building and shaping anything, whether that's the entire business or just one service, just one course, just one download, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so important, isn't it? Just touching on what you sort of said about the brand story. What I find is that often
Mm.
provides context. And people need that. Why should I listen to you? Well, this is why. I walk my talk. I've been in the place where you are now. I've got myself to where I am right now, and this is what I've done. And it starts to add weight to the very thing that you're talking about. And I think humans are just naturally curious about the way other
Mm.
humans live, and what they do and stuff. Like we are nosy beings, aren't we? And I think understanding somebody's story, I think, goes a long way to building trust, but also provides context as to how it can work for them. Because I know
Yeah.
with what I do now, that what you said about being self-indulgent, that was my worry for so long. So I wouldn't really talk about sort of my journey or whatever. But then, so I deliver a lot of live webinars, and part of
Mm.
that is sharing my story, and that then became the thing that people would then talk to me about. Oh, you said you did this and you were feeling this. I feel like that right now. And I want to
Yeah.
get to where you are and all of this. And it's almost like you're giving them hope in a way, because you're identifying what they're struggling with right now because of your own
Yeah.
story, the situations you found yourself in. And especially when you're at the other end and whatever you've created is that pathway to the other end, it gives it more weight and more presence to the thing that you're talking about. So I agree with you. I think having your brand story at the heart of what you do is the differentiator, because nobody will have the same story. Nobody will have the same challenges, or they might touch on similar things, but not in the way you've experienced it. And I think that starts to make you
Yeah.
unique. And not everybody's gonna. It's not going to resonate with everybody, but you will attract the people it will resonate with, and I think that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, stories are there to divide an audience into the loves it and hates it.
Yeah.
I have had lots of people say, "Oh, I love your story. I love the way you tell it. I love the metaphors." Blah, blah. I have had someone, in a Zoom call in front of 6 or 7 other people say to me, "I effing hate your branding." Because you're
Wow.
never gonna please everyone. I mean, it was quite the way he phrased it. It was a man, can you imagine? But
Oh,
I laughed and laughed, because actually, for me, that completely validates what would actually I had been offended by, was if he'd said, "Your branding, I could take it or leave it." Because then what are you doing? You're
yeah,
not helping anyone. Because if he was in the market for my services, he wouldn't know whether I was the person for him, because he doesn't know what I stand for and what I believe in. But the heart of the stories I create with my clients is always that. This is what I truly believe in about what I do, because you can have 15 brand designers lined up in a row, and ostensibly they do exactly the same thing, right? So their USP, and I absolutely loathe that term. People now understand it, but it's very kind of acronym heavy marketing speak.
yeah,
But people get so worried about what's my USP, I call it about being brand distinct, and they will be distinct from each other, but not just by cursory looking. And that's what a
yeah,
prospect will do in the first instance. So for me, it's very much about being able to articulate, and I dig down deep, deep, deep with my clients to get this out of them, because those 15 brand designers will fundamentally believe something different about their skill and the output they create for their clients. some people are about, I want to connect emotionally your audience with your business. Someone else will be about, I don't know, being able to read the purpose of the business through the graphic language. And everybody has their beliefs about what they do. And I think it's incredibly important you articulate that, and also articulate it in a way that is distinctly you and your brand, because the language that you use is the audience that you choose. Because
Yeah.
I could rock up and talk about USPs and la 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 and data and la 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 la, and that would make me a very different prospect than me wanging on about, rubber ducks and ideas and, freeing your creative muscle up and that kind of stuff. And I choose the audience just because of the story I tell.
Yeah.
And I think, and you can choose your audience and then create a language that matches. So it works both ways. But people, I think, forget that if they don't choose their language, it becomes invisible, because you can bet your bottom dollar everyone else is using it too.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you, and especially in a world of AI as well, and that
Yeah.
sort of makes it even more harder to stand out. Well, actually, no, I will go as far as to say, in a world of AI where there's a lot of regurgitation, um, bringing in a creative angle that is authentic to you is where you stand out. And I think going forward, that's going to be the power. That's going to be where you get to shine. Because if you, and I'm not saying don't use AI, but if you're somebody that is sharing content and you're only taking what AI is giving you, and you're not creating authentic content that represents you as an individual and your business, then like you say, you're just going to blend in. Whereas the people that are going to stand out, be noticed, and most likely get those leads and conversions are going to be the ones that are different, the ones that are staying true to themselves and showing up in an authentic way. So I
Yeah.
think it's really powerful, and often probably underestimated as well, or at least the creative side undervalued.
Yeah, I think it is, because, I deal, not exclusively, but I deal with a lot of business to business businesses. How many times can I say business in one sentence? And, I think we forget sometimes that certainly in the sort of, the SME market, there has to be that brand personality. It doesn't have to be your personality. There has to be that ability for someone to human connect. We sell to a business, but we don't sell to a business. We sell to another person.
Yeah,
And because we're all in crowded marketplaces, I've got the choice of 15 brand designers.
yeah,
I probably know 15 myself, or I know six and I can go find the rest. So how do I choose? Even procure, when I used to be in charge of a multi-million-pound print budget, you can bet your bottom dollar the suppliers that I chose were the ones that I liked.
yeah,
We can't work together, so there are a million ways to dress up the procurement decision, the outsourced decision. But if you do not resonate and do not think they are going to deliver me, I talk about, part of the story for me is brand shift. Where do you shift your customers to? Get them to understand where you're moving them to. That outcome, is what they want to buy. Because
yeah.
if I say to them, I can get you a fabulously distinct story to go to market with, show up, be confident that you are going to be remembered, they don't really care if I say, in order to do that, I need you to stand on your head for 3 hours and then it will happen. Or you come on 2 90-minute sessions with me, we work creative. That's the bit that they're not buying that bit. They're buying the shift. So
Absolutely.
all of this becomes part of that essential story. And what happens is you get more of the clients you really, really want to work with, and you get less of those that make you grind your teeth and think, when will this project be over?
And oh my God, we've all had those kind of clients, haven't
Haven't
we?
we just?
Oh, so if somebody listening could just do one thing, start in one place in order to make a shift in their business, what would you tell them to do?
So I think, regardless of whether you are a creative or not, because as a creative, we have an ideas territory, and that becomes very well worn. And so, if you imagine your creative thinking territory as a field and it's got fences round. So people who aren't naturally or, don't practice being creative, their field might be fairly small and they think within that. If you are doing creativity, as part of your role, or you're very creative, you have an enormous field, but you are still walking the same paths, and you kind of your creative thinking creates these ruts. And I've seen it. I mean, I've been running this business 25 years. No one has yet not conformed to this. You can be so creative, but you are within these kind of thinking ruts. What I would say is get out over that fence to new thinking territory. And that involves very simple things like putting creative habits into your business. The very simplest one is 1 minute a day is a creative workout. As you sit at your desk, or crucially, before you start thinking in any way strategically, or I want to create a thing, or I've got a problem to solve, or any of the kind of workout activities, and I've got so many in the allotment, so people just come and kind of help themselves from my website. Anything like that changes your mindset immediately, and it helps you be more divergent in your thinking, options thinking, and that's the critical thing. And if you do that every day, you will become a better creative thinker, full stop. And I don't know many other activities where 60 seconds a day will manifest itself in such a powerful way in your business, because you will start thinking. And I'm talking about really simple things like set your timer. How many different ideas for this polo can you come up with in 60 seconds? That's it. You do that for a week. You change the object. You can start to understand, am I being more divergent? So are 10 of my ideas all quite closely linked? You can rank yourself. That gets you 1 point. If they are mad ideas, like, well, I'm going to hollow it out and use it for a flying saucer, and there's nothing else like that on your list, that's a 5-pointer, and challenge yourself to really up the ante in terms of ridiculous thinking. And I use ridiculous thinking as part of my framework, because if you can't let yourself go and be ridiculous, you'll never be able to mine the creative gold. So that very simple workout, and there's hundreds of ways to do a really quick workout. If you get that into your business daily habit, you will have a better business. It's a bold claim, isn't it?
It is, but I love it. I absolutely love it. I remember when I was, so I used to, many, many moons ago, I worked in London. I had a different career, but I went to night school, and I was, because my goal was to become a graphic designer, and I wanted to sort of move careers. And I went to the London College of Communication, and we did all about visual thinking. And I just loved it because it was so random stuff. But you're absolutely right. It's working that creative muscle so you see things differently. And I think we can very much get into a rut of thinking the same things over and over again, but not quite, and sometimes it's hard to think about what is possible when you can't see it. So I think there's a skill there to be able to have these big ideas without worrying how they're going to kind of come to fruition. So being able to think big in a way that is exciting without feeling it's ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? So
I mean, I
seeing
think,
things from different angles and that.
Yeah, I invite my clients to get comfortable with feeling sort of, that feeling ridiculous. I'll often set some ground rules about, whatever crazy shit is in your head is probably where the answer is. So let's hear it, please. And, I open every client session with a creative workout to set the intention that that's going to be part of the experience. And, I have hundreds of creative tools. So we don't just stare at each other and go, come on then, your turn for an idea. I will have decks of digital cards. I will have scenarios. I will have provocations. I will have random stuff that they have to mash into their, challenge in some way. There's just a whole toolkit, because you have to keep pushing yourself to go outside, because we are, particularly if we've had careers and been employed before, this isn't valued, this stuff. Depends on your job, but for most of us, it's like, get get the stuff done, get it right, get it done quick and move
Yeah.
on. And that is not the friend of creativity. Creativity is all about,
Where it
you are
goes to
probably going to
die.
fail 8 times. Yeah. You have got to make failure your friend. The biggest thing I hear from clients is, okay, we've got this amazing idea. I'm really excited. Will it work? Like, I don't know. That's why we're trying it. You're just going to get it to good and you're going to launch it, because if I knew it worked, it wouldn't be a good idea. It would be an idea someone else has had, and we can have a look at the data. Because data's only ever, as Rory Sutherland said, very good at looking backwards. I
Yeah,
don't have
yeah.
data on this brilliant idea that hasn't existed in the world yet.
Yeah.
So let's go on this, crazy walk together and see what happens. And I think this is the other thing that I say. I say, just do this one thing, but I say that 8 times. So there's a long list of stuff to do. But I do encourage people to do a creative, and I use that in the broadest sense, activity outside of their business. Because if we set up a business doing something, we are experts at our thing. We have to be, otherwise we'd be dead on sort of day 6, right? So, and as we get deeper into this expertise thing, we really don't fail in any significant way because we're too good at what we do, right? And then we become really rubbish at failing. And then we become unresilient, if that's the right negative. We lose our resilience to failure, and we're born with resilience. Because as kids, you fall off your bike 18 times and we don't care. The towel gets knocked down 20 times, we don't care. But and then we become frightened of failing. And then every single idea we have exists within the safe, close, everyone else has done it before, but we know it works, so we'll do it territory. That's where businesses go to die the slowest, most painful and tediously boring death you've ever seen a business do. So doing when I do stupid amounts of craft, and I love picking up a new thing because I fail almost instantly, repetitively. But the key thing is, in the lowest stake environment I can create for myself. I've done embroidery, I've done lithograph, screen printing, calligraphy, ceramics. I mean, you name it, I've blooming done it. And I was shit at all of them at the beginning. And there is a lovely experience of getting better and becoming an amateur expert at these things.
Yeah.
But there is something about that early stage that actually has made me a much better, braver, more creative business owner, because I'm fairly resilient to failure. Not totally. I still go and sit behind the sofa and have a sob when something like I thought was going to make me my, next million hasn't. But you know what? It's fine, because then I pick it up, I do a bit of evaluation, and then as part of all good creative approaches, you iterate, you reiterate, you tweak, you go, you try again. There's so many moving parts in any given thing we launch that, it's never going to be the totality of it that has made it fail. It'll be an element of it. And we forget how to have the resilience to do that. And, so many things get and because we take it all so personally, because it's our baby and we've worked so hard, and why has no one seen how brilliant this is? And then they go, well, no one wants it, so I'm going to put it in the bin and try something else. And all that amazing thinking gets lost when it could have just been one thing. So I think for me, being able to build up that resilience outside of the business, because everything in business is high stakes.
Yeah,
because it's
absolutely.
time and money and clients and marketing, putting yourself on LinkedIn and all that stuff. So to do it outside of that is an incredible, God, I'm sounding awful. It's an incredible gift you can give yourself.
I agree. I'm sitting here smiling because as somebody that, obviously my business is creative and all of that. And I'm one of those that for a long time I took it for granted. I was always good at drawing, painting. At school I excelled at that. I didn't want to be an artist. I didn't realise what I wanted to be until I started work. And then I realised for me, I had a love of graphic design. And that was why I did all my night school. But over the years, some things that I do in my personal time that I never talk about, I never share it. But actually, since I've had kids, it's become more and more important, and it fuels my creativity. Is I sing, And I realized, so I've got a 12-year-old, and we bought her at Christmas. She loves to sing. She loves sing and dance. And we bought her a karaoke machine. So it was a very, like a proper, like not one of these small ones, like proper
Yeah, yeah,
one. My closest friend had one, and we were like, we want one of those. It's amazing
yeah,
because we'd
yeah, yeah.
have karaoke nights and stuff like that, and it was so much fun. And I've always sang. But I've done it in my private. And then obviously with my daughter loves singing. So we have now, and we did it last night, karaoke sessions where we will take in turns singing, and we will do duets, and we'll do things like that. And it's only recently, if I'm really honest, that I've really owned it,
Yes.
because what's really interesting is, as somebody that is in the creative space, 9 times out of 10, I live in the creative space. To do what I
Yeah.
do, I have to be in that space. What I realized was that what it gives me, it puts me in a really high vibrational state. And oh my God, the way it makes me feel. And singing is a creative outlet. And what I didn't realize this while I was doing all my courses and stuff, but I would use singing as a way to release and to refuel.
Mm.
And because we've been doing it on a regular basis, and I love it. And I will even, which is so funny, whenever I deliver a live webinar, and you get that adrenaline, don't you?
Yeah.
That adrenaline has to go somewhere. So we will have a session, and it will be the best session. And I suppose it's building that confidence. But what I've realized is that for me, it refuels, but it brings something into my energy state that amplifies what I'm able to do. I feel
Yeah.
it. People talk about being in that high state of flow.
Mm,
And
mm.
I think for me, those two things go hand in hand. When I'm doing my creative work, when I'm building things out, when I'm designing, doing stuff, I will have music on. I will be singing. It'll almost be the thing that I need in order to kind of get my brain into that state.
Mm.
Um, and it's really powerful. So when you talk about, and I've done things like print screen and all that craft stuff, but it's finding that thing that you can
Yeah.
do outside of your business that gets you in a creative state that kind of fuels your thinking somewhere else.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
when you find that, I mean, like I say, for me it's singing, for you it could be crafting, for somebody else it could be
Yeah.
whatever. But
Baking,
when you
whatever. Yeah.
find that, yeah, when you find that, it can do wonders,
Mm.
because it almost takes you out of yourself, and
Yeah.
then you can, because I think creativity works best when you're not thinking about it, when you're just being and letting things flow. I think that's
So
where the
what?
best ideas come from.
Yeah, it is, and the kind of I did decades of kind of, because I trained as a furniture designer at the Royal College of Art, and so we didn't get the sort of academic side of creativity, because weirdly no creatives want to dissect this, but there's been a lot of research done, particularly from the 70s onwards. So I sort of immersed myself in this research for 15, 20 years, and I think one of the lessons that I got out of that, and I do it, is when I have a challenge, like, oh, I've got to write a keynote, or okay, I want to do a thing, a course or a service, but I can't quite get into it. I will write down on a small post-it, the kind of the key challenge, and I will fold it up and literally go through the sort of physical process of folding it up, and I will hide it somewhere, and then I will go away for 3 days and not think about it. And what actually happens, and it's particularly good if you then undertake these kind of tasks, because creativity happens out of your subconscious. So your conscious brain sitting there going, I need some ideas, I need some ideas,
Yeah.
it's just getting in the bloody way. It thinks it's really useful. It's completely redundant in this entire process until you've got the ideas. So writing the thing. So you are briefing your subconscious brain by writing your challenge. You're folding it up. You're telling your conscious brain, this is not for you. Forget you ever saw this. Hiding it, and then leave it 2 or 3 days, and get yourself involved in activities that divert your conscious brain away from it, so you're not tempted to go back and physically kind of put your spotlight mentally onto it. And when you next sit down, oh yes, the ideas are all there, because that's what your subconscious is doing,
Yeah.
but it can't do it while the conscious brain is getting in the way. So
Yeah.
that's why when you're in that kind of other diverted flow state, that's why, going for a walk, running, being on the bus, public transport, showers, that bit before you fall asleep is exactly where your subconscious is in its prime state to do its best work.
Yeah, yeah, which can be really annoying when, like you say, you just about to fall asleep and you have the best ideas. It's funny because I swim. That's one of my outlets as well, and I'll be doing my lens and I'll get the best ideas, but I have
Yeah.
nowhere to write it down. So by the time I get out, I've forgotten them.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's sod's law, isn't it? Um, so tell me about your session at the summit. I'm really excited about your session. It's going to be absolutely brilliant because I know you're going to be bringing some juicy stuff that you're going to be really helping the attendees with.
Yes, so I've done this kind of work with lots and lots of my clients about how to create the right course. It's often the first thing that they've done. It doesn't have to be a course, and it could be free course, a paid course, or it could just be some kind of digital resource that, you might not want to call it a course because that has its own
Yeah.
baggage. So what I've decided to do for the session is I brought together all the kind of the tools that I've used with clients over the years doing this work. And it's funny you should use the word juicy, because it's called the Chicken Nugget Philosophy. And what I'm going to get
Of course
our
it is.
attend of course it is, why would it not be? What I'm going to get our attendees to do is build their own chicken nugget philosophy, and that going through that, because I think where I see lots of people struggle in the first instance is you are not giving away the entirety of your expertise. So what do you put on the tray
Yeah.
to either give away or to sell? And I think getting clarity over that, out of what are the expertise nuggets that will make this nutritious, that will make this a tasty dish that people want to grab for. Then you've got, all the kind of the bit that goes around it, the packaging, the box, and you've got to think about your diners. And this is obviously a big kind of fun metaphor to get people to think about, who do I want to serve with this digital product, with this digital course? What are the nuggets that I need to put there? What sequence do they need to be presented in? How am I packaging and wrapping this? What's my secret sauce that makes this distinct to my brand and to no other? So it can only be me talking about this thing, and understanding your role as the kind of chef and the signature you need to put around this. And we're going to work through the Chicken Nugget Philosophy together. They're going to be doing their own work. I'm going to be talking them through the process. So by the end of it, they're going to have their own chicken nugget philosophy about their first product completely mapped out and shaped and ready to cook.
Amazing. I love that. I was thinking that, chicken nuggets, that's really interesting. And then when you were like the nuggets, I was like, oh, this is absolutely brilliant. Oh, yes. No, that sounds absolutely brilliant. Because you're absolutely right. I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs that want to create some kind of scalable offer in their business, and it can be really overwhelming, because there's so many decisions to make and not knowing what to create, how to create it, how to serve it up.
Yeah.
And everything else that's involved. So being able to kind of really map out a simple strategy right from the get-go, I think will be a really powerful session. So I'm excited. I think
And there
our
are
attendees
vegan
will be as
options
well.
available, so there's no excuse for not coming. It's not all about the meat.
Well, we need a little bit of meat on the bone, but yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Right, so I've got some quick fire
Oh, right.
questions for you.
Okay.
Right. So, what do you prefer, coffee or tea?
Oh, I'm a 50-50er, so let's just go tea.
Tea. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So, what's one business book that you think every entrepreneur should read?
I mean, it would be too gauche to mention my own book at this stage.
No, go for
So,
it.
how to build a business on ideas. I would actually say, which is ironic given that I have written a business book, I would say any piece of fiction will do much more for
Okay.
your brain than any book.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
include my own. Go and read a
yeah.
fantastic piece of fiction. That's where you get fired up with ideas and enter new worlds and bloody enjoy yourself. Look, if you work hard on your business, give yourself a break. Go and read a fantastic story.
Yeah. It's true, isn't it? I'm guilty of that. We're going away in a couple of weeks and I've got a load of business books in my head that I'm going to be taking.
I see people's summer reads and I'm like, mate, do
You need
yourself
to
a
get out
favour.
more. You need a life.
There are so
Oh,
many. I mean, I spent many a long wilderness year when my kids were very young, not reading a book at all, and I was an absolutely avid reader. And I'm slowly clawing back the time, and I'm having the time of my life immersing myself in these stories, and it's good for the brain.
it is. And also I find what I really enjoy are watching biographies as well, because often you can pick up things from listening to other people's stories and watching, other sort of programs and that, because
Yeah.
ideas come from all different areas. It's
Yes.
not just being in a networking group with other people that you're going to get the best idea ever.
No. Absolutely.
Often they come from really random moments
Yeah.
where you suddenly link up something with you've
Yeah.
already had some element of a thought, but then you'll see something so random that'll just
Yeah.
be I know, and those breakthrough moments are incredible, but they often do
Yeah.
come from doing other things. So
Yeah,
yeah,
totally. I mean, I have, a whole range of kind of prompt cards that I use with clients, and they'll have like an ice cream van on it. And what's
yeah,
entertaining is looking at people's faces when you go, so how's this ice cream van going to give you an idea about your new digital launch? But you know what? I've never had anyone not come up with an idea. It's that. It's exactly that. It's the kind of fundamental building blocks of creativity, that juxtaposition.
yeah, and a bit of fun as well, which I think
Yes.
we all need. Okay,
Yeah.
so what one tool or app could you not run your business without?
I would say Miro, because I do all of my
Ah,
online sessions on their digital boards, digital post-it notes. So
yeah,
I
that
am
makes
on there
sense.
a lot. Mm.
Yeah, that's a great tool. What's the best piece of business advice you've ever been given?
Um, Probably stop looking at what everyone else is doing. I think it can inevitably lead you to that, you know, comparisonitis disease that is, once it's in there, God, it spreads quickly, doesn't it?
Mm,
And also it means you inadvertently start picking up all their ideas. Think, oh, I've had a great idea, and it's the same as the other three businesses you've just looked at on Instagram. So I think that's the best piece of advice. And if anyone says, and I'm sure I've said this at least 3 times in this podcast, my own piece of advice to myself is, at the moment you hear someone say the one thing every business owner needs is run like a mad, because it's bullshit.
it is true, isn't it? I recorded my episode today for today's podcast, and I was talking about that. There's so much overinflated stuff online where
Yeah.
you're told you have to do this, that, and the other. And you're absolutely right. A lot of it is rubbish. There is no magic formula. In fact, the
Mm.
only thing I would say probably is anything of what I would deem as magic is consistency, because consistency
Yeah.
compounds over time. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything else is about, it comes from you and the effort, the energy, the action you take, but it's being consistent, not
Yeah.
listening to all the other sort of rubbish that's out there
Yeah.
online.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so in one sentence, what does building an online business mean to you?
Well, I think the one word that comes to mind is scope, because pre-COVID I didn't have an online business. I was all face to face, and moving the majority of my business online means I've got the scope to work with people from all over the world, which I do. and the scope to create new ways of working, because creativity is easier, as sort of a creative mindset and a creative environment is much easier to create when you're in the room with people. So it's been a huge and really exciting challenge for me to try and understand how that creative experience works through a screen. And it's an ongoing challenge, but one that I've relished being able to do. But it's given me a lot more scope to create digital products and all sorts of things. So I think it is that, it's the scope and opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. It is something that can't be undervalued, being able
Mm.
to reach people wherever they are in the world and for them to access you and what you do. Do you want to tell people about the business allotment? Obviously, I know you mentioned it at the beginning, but how much it is and where they can find out more about it online.
Yeah, so I think there's two things that I would signpost right now because they cost absolutely nothing to get involved with. So on the website, thebusinessallotment.co.uk, if you head towards the tool shed, that's our online shed membership that doesn't cost anything, and it is packed full of creative resources about how to run and grow your business. It's sort of chunked down into creative tools, brand tools, strategy tools, so you can kind of have a browse. You can download whatever you want, and it's super simple to sign up. So that's one thing. And also on the website, there's in the menu is the resource patch, and that is some free courses, some other interesting bits you might want to get involved with. And then every quarter, I run an idea shed, which is a completely free session to come along online and spend an hour working creatively on your business. So if you go to the resource patch and look for the idea shed, you'll see when the next one is. And everyone is very welcome to book a seat, come along, and just have an hour thinking differently about your business growth.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think everybody needs that in their business. Rather than getting so caught up in the weeds of everything, take some
Yeah,
time out and really just look at what you can do because the opportunities are there. It's just having the ideas. So that's brilliant.
yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Jodie. This session's been amazing. You're amazing. What you do is fantastic, and I highly encourage my listeners to check out your resources and to connect with you. If you enjoyed this conversation, then you are going to love the Online Business Growth Summit because this is just a small taste of what is to come. Alongside today's guest, you'll hear from over 18 incredible experts covering everything from digital products to marketing to sales, visibility, audience growth, and so much more. And it's all designed to help you build income beyond selling your time. You can head on over to my website, www.sellyourbrillianceonline.com, and you can register for free there. Or check out the next episode of the Online Business Uncovered podcast, where I'll be sharing more tips and guests with you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Jodie, for your time today. I really appreciate it.
It's been a blast. Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I really hope it's given you something to think about and perhaps inspired you to look at your business a little bit differently. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd be grateful if you could share it with a friend or fellow entrepreneur. It really helps more people discover the podcast, and you never know who might need to hear this message today. And if you're ready to start building a business that gives you more freedom, then I'd love to invite you to join me at the Online Business Growth Summit this October. The summit is completely free to attend, and it brings together expert speakers who'll be sharing practical strategies to help you to create digital offers, build income beyond selling your time, simplify your systems, grow your audience, and create a business that truly supports your lifestyle. You can register for free by visiting www.sellyourbrillianceonline.com. I'd absolutely love to see you there. I will be back next week with another episode, but until then, have a wonderful week.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Online Business Uncovered. If today's conversation has sparked an idea or gave you a dose of clarity, then please make sure to check out the show notes for all the links and resources mentioned. New episodes land every Thursday, so hit follow or subscribe to stay in the loop. And if you're loving the show, a quick rating or review goes a long way in helping more brilliant entrepreneurs like you find this show. Until next time, keep showing up, keep sharing your brilliance, and remember, freedom in business is possible, and it starts with taking the next right step.